While y'all answer that question, I guess I'll go back to this for the recording. So there you go. Okay. What is none often used to represent? Absence of a value. And none's used, or null more is used a lot with databases. Like if you don't put, uh, let's say you're doing an entry right into your database, and you've got, let's pull it up, got a whole bunch of fields. Right, so you've got, where's basic? Here we go. So you've got all these fields, right? Um, but let's say you're only collecting the email first, last, and they don't enter a middle name, right? Well, anytime you do a database entry, it requires all the fields that you um, have listed here, right? So if you don't put anything for middle, it's still going to fill it, but it's just going to fill it with a null value or a none type value. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Like it's always going to fill it with something, whether it's filling it with nothing or not. All right. Mike, can you read this one?
Yeah. None. The none object is returned by any function that doesn't explicitly return anything else. Run the code, see how it works.
Okay. So we don't have a return statement here, right? So it's just going to return nothing because this is not returning anything. Any questions on that? Does that make sense? Mike, you look confused. You're good?
No, it made sense. There's nothing in the there's no value there, so it's returning none.
Yeah. So like if we did turn high,
You get
then
high, right?
yeah. But you just do return, you get none. So it's the same thing as if you added a return with nothing. So, okay, answer the next question. None. What number does this code print? If foo equals none, then print 1. Well, foo doesn't really contain anything because it's saying print, but it's not having you print anything or whatnot. So it's just going to print none. So, or print 1 because that's the result if it equals none. So before we keep going, I just want to show another example of none. Let me find one. Mm, Oh, here. If last. So basically, if you do an if statement with the variable, um, But if the variable received an answer, so like in this post section, if they type the last name, right, then it's going to contain something. It's not going to be a none type object. But if they don't type anything, there's not anything going to be there. So you can do like if last to see if it's a none type object or not. And if it's not, then okay, well then we know it's going to be a string, so you can make it uppercase or do whatever you want. But a lot of times, just like you don't have to say this would be the same thing as saying if last not equal to none, right? But all you have to do is just say if last, like if last exists and it's not nothing. So, any questions on that? Okay. And I know it's three, but I got cut off for a long time. So we'll just keep going a little bit longer. Brian, can you read this one?
Dictionaries. Dictionaries are data structure used to map arbitrary keys to values. Lists can be thought of as dictionaries with integer keys with a certain range. Dictionaries can be indexed in the same way as lists using square brackets containing keys. For example, each element in the dictionary is represented by a key value pair.
All right. So key value pairs, we worked a lot with that in JavaScript. If you guys remember, hopefully you remember, but it's the same thing. So whatever the name of your key is, you can retrieve the value by calling it by the key name, which is like in this example, it's useful for like ages, right? Um, but I mean, there's lots of other ways you could use it, like um, I'm trying to think of a good example. Well, I mean, he did it like the reverse. If like first name equals yeah, John, last name equals Smith. Um, right. So it's just like, I don't know, another example of something you could do. Like if you know like what it is you want to get, but you don't necessarily know the um the value of it, right? Um, so yeah. Any questions on that? Oh, okay. Go ahead, answer the next question. So y'all thought you were getting away from curly brackets with Python, but this will be the time you would use those curly brackets. All right, fill in the blanks to define a valid dictionary with two elements, BMW, blue, Volvo, red, and your closing curly bracket. Let's see. Roger, can you read this one?
Dictionaries. Trying to index a key that isn't part of the dictionary returns a key error. Example, as you can see, a dictionary can store any types of data versus values or as values. An empty dictionary is defined as the curly brackets.
Okay, go ahead, answer the question. So actually, a perfect example of dictionaries is sessions, right? So when we're using sessions in um, programming, so like our self.session.get, that's an exact use of the dictionary, because remember we add stuff to it by doing self.session, and then we'll get to this, but for adding to the dictionary, but I don't know, email equals blah 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 at blah blah blah.com, right? Um, like that's how we add things to our session values to be used across things, and then we get it using the um, dot get method and then retrieving it, which is the same as dictionaries. So this is dictionaries are just like sessions. All right, go ahead and answer is key error. Kevin, can you read this one?
Only immutable objects can be used as keys to dictionaries. Immutable objects are those that can't be changed. So far, the only mutable objects you've come across are lists and dictionaries. Trying to use a mutable object as a dictionary key causes a type error.
Okay. So causes a type error. All right. Go ahead and start on the inventory management and raise your hand once you're done. All right, looks like a lot of you are done with this one. So with this one, it just wants us to print the number of apples. And so to retrieve the number of apples from the dictionary, you just, with the square brackets after the name of the dictionary, you get the, what's it called? You pass the key and it's going to retrieve the value. All right. Any questions on that? Anybody struggling, need help? Okay. And then this one, which of these values can't be used as a dictionary key? These ones, because they are mutable objects. So Mark, can you read this one?
Just like lists, dictionary keys can be assigned to different values. However, unlike lists, a new dictionary key can be also be assigned to a value, not just one that already exists. Run the code and see how it works.
So kind of like we just talked about with adding stuff to sessions. So if you want to add keys to dictionaries, then you just do the brackets and the name. Well, you have to have an already defined dictionary, even if it's an empty dictionary, and then you just give it the key and the value, and that's it. And it adds it in there.
Is that a mutable object or an immutable object?
These are immutable objects. So I mixed it up what I was saying with the last one. We're with the last question, but yeah, so things that are changeable like lists, you can't use a list as a thing because the list could be changed, right? So that's a mutable object. Immutable means can't be changed. So like the number 8 can't be changed because that's a number. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like 8's not going to suddenly become 9.
Yes.
So yeah. All right. So what is the result of this code? So print primes 4. Well, okay. So primes 4 is 7, but then it's so okay, so we get that result in here. So in here is 7. So then primes 7 is 17. So that's what's printing. Let's see. Will, are you back?
Yes, I am. Which one are you guys on?
This one on the screen, the dictionaries.
No, I'm talking about which lesson.
We're in
54-1.
yeah, 54
Dictionary
1.
function.
Okay. Dictionary, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Just like the list.
Oh,
And
sorry, we did the first one. We're on the second question of 54
okay.
1.
Okay. To determine whether a key in a dictionary you can use in and not in, just as you can
for a list. Example, run the code and see how it works.
Okay, so if you want to know, generally, I mean, you're not just going to print it, right? So if you're doing something like this, you generally use an if statement. So you do something like if one in print one or something, right? But because then you get a true value, and if it's not, then you get a false value, and it wouldn't print it, right? But yeah, so you can find out what's in dictionaries by using the in and not in functions. All right, answer the next question. Okay, drag and drop the options below to print yes. If the key 112 is present in the dictionary, name pairs. If 112 in pairs, print yes. Okay. That's everybody. Oh no. Ayani, can you read this one? Ayani, are you there? Okay. He must have had to step away. Jacob, can you read this one?
Dictionaries. A useful dictionary method is get. It does the same thing as indexing, but if the key is not found in the dictionary, it returns another specified value instead. None by default. Example. Run the code and see how it works.
All right, so again, just like sessions, because seeing sessions, to retrieve the session, we do self.session.get, and then the name. It's the same thing with dictionaries. So you just the name of the dictionary dot get, and then the value or the key, and it's just going to return the key for you. So it's the same as doing the brackets, but if it's not there, you'll get a none. So, and you can do this where, okay, if it's not there, then you can tell it what to print if it's not there too. So that's cool. Any questions on that before we move on to the practice? Okay, so go ahead and get started on the practice and raise your hand once you're done. Okay, Tim and Yanni. There you go. Okay, seems like a lot of you are done. So we'll move on. This one it wants us to get rid of the if statements and use the get statement instead to accomplish the same thing. So if you do print books.get book, and then if it doesn't retrieve a result, then print book not found, which is the same as doing if blah 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 in books, or yeah, if in books, then print this, else do that. So any questions on that, or anybody struggling with that, need help?
Yes, something's wrong with mine.
Okay.
I got book. I get half of it, but it's not all of it here.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and do screen share. Yeah.
Print books dot get book comma space book not found. Add the two closing brackets for the parentheses.
You've got a capital F. It doesn't want the capital F.
Oh, okay.
It's always something small.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, just get used to small things happening. It's
All right.
the errors the rest of your programming life.
Uh-huh.
But all right, so moving on. What's the result of this code? Print fib.get 4. So first it tries to get 4, so it gets 3, and then it tries to get 7, and it doesn't have anything, doesn't have a 7, so instead it returns 5. So 3 plus 5 gets you 8. All right.
I told you missed that. How do you do all that with the fib? I got 1:1, 2:1,
Uh,
3:2, and 4:3.
so okay, so remember, so the dot get, the first number you put there, or the first number, letter, word, whatever, is the key you're trying to get. If you put a comma and then something else after it, that's going to be your return this if it's not there, right? So we try and get 4. Well, 4 is a key, so it returns 3. And then it tries to get 7, but 7's not a key, so it returns 5. Does that make sense now?
Where does the 5 come from?
From right here. Because you tried to get 7 from this, so fib is the dictionary name, right? And it's saying from fib, from this dictionary, try and get the key value 7. Well, it looks at all of these keys. The first ones are always the keys. So even if there was a 7 in the value, it still would return nothing. But so it's trying to get 7. There's no 7. So it says, okay, there's no 7. So instead of retrieving the number that'd be in 7, return 5. So we got 3 over here because 3 was the value of 4, and 5 is 8. Now, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, that seems like a good place to end for today. So let me stop sharing, and I'll be right back.